Welcome to my channel. Today I have for you the unboxing of the SCT Sampler Kit for the month of August. Now this kit is put out by the Scrapbook and Cards Today magazine company, and that's why it's called SCT. And here I am opening up the kit, and each month's kit comes with this card with a theme word, and matching that theme word is always some word embellishment, and lately it's been these acrylic pieces. Now I'm going to divide these collections up so we can look at the products. Usually there's two separate design lines. This first one is Fifth and Monaco by Pink Paisley, and the second collection is the Simple Stories Kate and Ash. And then often there's a third item that's some kind of long-term reusable item. And this time we have a stamp set by Gina K Designs. And the quality of Gina K products are the highest quality you can get in the photopolymer stamp set. So that was very nice. Now let's go through the Fifth and Monaco collection here pretty quickly. Because this is a sampler kit, you get partial packages of things. So we've got some word embellishments, some gemstone embellishments, and then we've got a partial pack of die-cut ephemera pieces. This piece, I believe, is die-cut from a larger sheet of paper, and then we'll move into the papers. Every month there is usually 5 or 6 papers from each collection, and these are cut down from a larger 12 by 12 sheets. Now this black piece is an example of where the sample might not be quite representative, because I know that black paper has jumbo flowers in opposite corners, but my piece that got cut didn't have that. I will have links for all these products in the show notes, so you can go and see the full product lines and decide if any of these products for you. And of course you could always subscribe to these kits. They're very affordable, and they're wonderful little samples of items. So this next collection here is the Kate and Ash, and that plastic sheet is actually a flip pocket to add. It's got a sticky adhesive strip to add into your scrapbook pages, so you can add extra photos. And of course you could stack up extra pockets and keep adding as many photos as you need. And then as you can see, we've got a bunch of more word, kind of thicker embellishments and a partial pack of die cuts. And then we moved into these pattern papers. We've got several cut apart pattern papers, these first two pieces here. And then we move into the regular pattern papers. Now this Kate and Ash collection is their kind of teen theme with the retro color vibe going on. Now some of these colors I'm not so crazy about, but that's okay, because usually between the A sides and the B sides of the pattern papers, I can always find something usable, and I will put these papers to good use. Now stick with me, because I always do a project after I do an unboxing. For today's project, I'm going to show you something that came out badly. Wait, what? Oh, you heard me. I'm going to show you something that came out badly. But don't go yet. There's a reason why I'm doing this. We're going to talk about, from a design principle, what went wrong, and then I'm going to show you how I fixed it. So let's go ahead and start back at the beginning of this project. So I was going to make birthday cards, and my idea was that I would stamp 2 greetings actually, and put those greetings on a diagonal flow to this card. So I chose papers and the stamp set that would work for this diagonal flow. I wanted to have contrast between the black stamping ink and the paper that I'm stamping on, as well as backing my sentiment pieces with a black piece of cardstock, and I used that black polka dot. And then I picked out some pattern papers, and I cut them down to fit on a card front, and I cut them at a diagonal, and I stacked them up and did both pattern papers at the same time. And that way I could just take these triangles and go ahead and glue them down to my card, and that is going to be the base for my diagonal flow design. And that part all went fine. So we're doing good so far. And this is when things started going badly. So I wanted to emphasize this diagonal flow, and I was using this arrow stamp from the stamp set. But because I stamped it with black ink on the same color of paper for my sentiment, there was not enough contrast between the two elements, and the eye was confused about where to go between the sentiments and the arrows. So that was mistake number one. So the next problem I had was the imbalance between these two pattern papers I use for my diagonal. That floral paper has a much heavier visual weight to it. Your eye is drawn there more than the lighter kind of confetti paper down at the bottom. So I tried to fix that by adding more weight with these stamped hearts down at the bottom. The problem was, again, that there was not enough contrast between those stamped hearts and the sentiments and the arrow and the black pattern paper. So it was all just kind of too monotone. While my brain was pondering that problem, I did make a second card, which you can see up there in the right-hand part of the screen, but we'll talk about that later. Right now, I am trying to fix the mistakes that I made. So I cut apart that card because I don't want to waste everything. I just want to fix what I've got going on that's wrong. I cut it apart and I made a new card base. And before I adhere it down, I decide on a different pattern paper to be my bottom corner, since I not only did that stamping go wrong, but I continued stamping and made it worse and worse. So I wanted to pick a new pattern paper to be that base bottom left corner. Now I thought this heart would make me happy, but I decided that heart was too heavy. That black heart print was too heavy. So I went with this kind of truck print, and that was not quite as heavy as I wanted it to be, but I think it was a better balance with what I've already got. And then instead of stamping the arrow, I used this arrow pattern paper to do my diagonal, and it has a lighter color tone to it and different colors than what's on my sentiments. So that provided more contrast and better balance to this whole design. So we're going to step back to this card number 2 that I worked on. Now, like I said earlier, I did do card number 2 before I actually fixed card number 1. And in the process of making card number 2, I realized what was going wrong with card number 1 and better ideas how to fix it. So the basic layout was the same with the diagonal flow. I did have the heavier pattern paper down at the bottom, and so I knew that was working better. I did choose a pattern paper to put these arrows on that was more contrast between my sentiment circles, and that was better, but these arrows were still stamped in too dark of a pattern, so I knew I needed a better arrow solution there. And at the very end of the video, you will see that I did change that pink out for the same colorful arrow from card number 1. So here's a super sped up look at card number 3 that I created, and I still went with that kind of basic diagonal layout. And here, when I added my sentiments, I created much more of a focal point down in my bottom sentiment that says happy birthday. And that also made me much happier. I think part of what the first 2 cards were lacking was a much more strong focus on my focal point, and this card has that. So to close the video for today, here is a look at card number 2, card number 3, and a 4th card that I made with a focal point in the middle of the design. Now, my intention when I started this video was to do these 3 layouts for you so that you could take the same diagonal flow and work it in slightly different directions. But in the process, with things going wrong, I decided to shift my video focus. So my hope is, by you watching my mistakes, that 1, you don't feel alone when you make mistakes, and 2, you have some tips and tricks to go to when things aren't going right. You can figure out how to correct your path and come up with something that you're satisfied with. And I'll leave you with a couple of still photo close-up shots as we end the video today. I really appreciate you spending your time here, and if you got something helpful out of this video, I would love it if you could give it a like. That will help my channel grow as I work more on YouTube.